Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in law enforcement? Here on Behind the Star, we share stories about the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida's largest law enforcement agency. From forensics to dispatch to the deputies on patrol, we'll talk to the brave men and women who protect our community. This is Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. My name is Jon Busdeker, your host here at Behind the Star, and thanks for sticking with us here on Behind the Star. We took a little bit of a hiatus over the summer, kind of like your school-age kids. They got a little vacation. I took a little vacation over the summer. I've been busy doing a lot of video projects. Just had to put the podcast on pause for a bit, but we are back. I did not forget about this. Just wanted to schedule some coming up and find some more people in the agency who want to chat with me. So if you haven't heard some of the previous episodes, go back, listen to those. But if you started here, that's fine too, because you started on a good one. A few months ago, almost a year ago now, we did a whole podcast on recruiting. Just recruiting, how to work at OCSO, how to be a deputy here, how to be a civilian here, how to get hired here. Today's podcast is a little bit more specific. We are talking about recruiting, but we're specifically talking about military recruiting. So maybe you were in the military, maybe you are in the military, maybe you know somebody in the military who wants to work in law enforcement. This is the episode for you. And I got the best guy here at the agency to talk about it. This is military field recruiter and veterans advocate, Rick DeMarco. Welcome to Behind the Star.
Hi, how you doing, John? It's a pleasure to be here. I've got a lot to talk about, I guess, and I'm excited to talk about it. I've been thinking about what you might ask.
I hope I didn't get you too nervous.
No, it's okay. I don't have anything to hide, John.
Okay, you are and were and are a Marine. I shouldn't say were a Marine. You are a Marine.
Right. I don't necessarily look like a Marine anymore.
Yes,
but
you look just like a Marine.
Well, I got maybe a few extra pounds.
Okay,
but that's just because maybe the weather or something like that.
Maybe
they say the humidity puts weight on you.
But that haircut, I'd say you're a Marine.
Yeah, I did 21 years in the Marine Corps, and then I did 13 years junior RTC, and I was blessed to be here at the Sheriff's Office now for 6 years, recruiting military veterans and veteran spouses.
Excellent. So we're going to get into all that stuff, but before I get too far, maybe just tell me overview. What exactly is recruiting? Because you work in the recruiting office.
Yes, sir.
And what exactly do you do in the recruiting office?
So we have 4 recruiters. I'm one of the 4, and what I do is I recruit military veterans, spouses, and Guard and Reserve. And so what that means is I get to travel. I get to travel around. Matter of fact, on Monday, I'll be leaving for Texas.
Nice.
Going to Fort Hood, which is the largest base in the country. I get to drive up and down the East Coast and Alabama, and I've been to Louisiana and some other places. And what I'm looking for is people that want to be cops. And we have great benefits here, so I want to get that out to them. I also use a lot of internet. I also connect with the bases and advertise on the bases. I also visit the bases as well as recruiting at reserve centers around Orlando and around other places. And so I try to do everything I can to get the message out. I was thinking about doing something like a bat signal at some point.
I like that.
I have the bat signal go out and then people can call and get a job here. But we're just short of that. I do everything I can to get the word out that we're hiring veterans, veteran spouses, Guard and Reserve.
And I should say, if you're listening to this right now, we are basically always hiring at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. We are always looking for brave men and women who want to become deputies and civilians. Exactly. I shouldn't just say deputies, but right. We're always looking for people to work here. So if you're interested, you can go to OCSO.com/careers. You can find out all about that. We'll get your information up too as well, Rick, about specifically veterans and military recruits.
Exactly.
But let's talk about that. Why do we go after, or why do we want military folks to work here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
Well, the reason we want them is military and veterans and spouses because it's kind of a natural transition. The military, they learn discipline. They understand chain of command. They understand following orders for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got their 10%.
That's true.
but they do understand. A lot of them really are just geared towards serving their community, serving their country. A lot of them have great training in understanding how to de-escalate things, how to bring things down, how to work as a team. I get a lot of feedback from deputies that there's a lot of military people that come in and they know how to take charge of a situation. When the corporal or the sergeant shows up, they know how to back down and then go ahead and receive orders and so maybe surrender the scene. They understand how to step up to the plate. They understand how to represent. And there's just a plethora of reasons why they're very good. Another thing is just the fact that they're of their dedication. If they've been in the military for a few years, they've proven that they can wear a uniform, that they can follow orders, that they understand how to get to work on time. They understand the grooming standards. They understand the discipline it takes to work with other people. And in general, the military comes out basically almost prepared, except unless they had an administrative job. All the military jobs pretty much prepare them for a job such as this, whether it be civilian, working in our fleet or our computers, or working in an admin position, or all the way up to 911 or emergency communications, and all the way to becoming a deputy. The military just seems to be a natural transition. My goal every year is to try to get 50% of our hires to be military. I've fallen a little short of that, but we're up around 32, 33%.
Okay.
And my goal is before I retire to try to have 50% of our population to be military, National Guard, Reserve, or spouse.
And that's going to be my next question. When you say military, what do you mean? Is it Air Force, Marines, Army, Coast Guard, or all that?
Right. We even have Space Force now.
Really?
That's part of the military. Right. I actually had a gentleman in the Space Force that called me up. So we're starting to move around, but it's all services. Now, our employees, we have a lot of employees that are National Guard and Reserve, and they're actually deploying as we speak, going everywhere from Washington, D.C., overseas. Some of them are doing their 2-week drills. And we have so many programs. As a matter of fact, I wanted to get this out real quick, but the reason we receive a lot of awards is because the way our department is set up, our sheriff has it set up in such a way as they can be in the Guard or Reserve, our employees, and we will actually pay them if they're supposed to work with us. And they have drills that weekend. They can get paid by us and by the military at the same time.
Nice.
Which is great. We also pay differential pay. So if they get deployed or activated, we pay the difference between what they make in the military and what they make with us.
All right. So they're not losing out.
They're not losing out. Another great benefit is they're earning leave and they're earning vacation days while they're gone. They're able to take their promotion tests when they get back. So it's a phenomenal program that we have here, and it's one of the reasons that we are literally one of the top in the country. We've actually been ranked as high as 3rd in the nation by militarytimes.com and Best for Vets for nonprofit and government agencies.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Yes, sir. Very proud of that.
So you hit on some good points there, and I want to go back a little bit. So people that come work here who are either military or former military, it can be both, right? You could be retired
exactly.
and done your couple of years, and now you're maybe out and you want to come into law enforcement,
exactly.
But you can also be an active member.
You can be an active member. When you come here, we have a program where you just give us your training schedule. And whether you're a deputy or a 911 operator, you work with computers or vehicles or admin, you just give us your training schedule. We honor it. And we actually have a veterans resource group, starting with me all the way up to pay. We have someone up in pay, Ms. Chastain, that actually pays them and takes care of their pay. We have checklists for when they check out and go on deployments, and when they come back. We make them whole in their retirement for FRS. We even have sponsorship programs where we will pay them to go to the academy. We'll pay them $20.14 an hour plus benefits. Plus, the way we're structured, they can get their military housing allowance, which could be as high as $1,700 a month.
Wow.
From their GI Bill. And then when they get to their field officer training, they can continue that all the way through their FTO, continuing to get full pay and benefits plus their military housing allowance. So we have so many benefits that it's almost embarrassing sometimes when I run into other agencies that are competing with people with us.
So what happens if you're deployed for like a year or two? I mean, we don't just let you go and say, well, see you in 2 years and hope you get another job when you get back. Like, your job is still here, right?
Absolutely. It's funny because we just had a meeting about that today to make sure that we're up to date on that. So yeah, when a person leaves here to go on deployment, we have a checklist they go through. We take care of their pay. They're allowed to stay on our health care. They keep their life insurance. We continue. They turn in some gear. They go on their deployment. When they come back, we have a checklist. And we follow the federal program, which is called USERRA. And on top of that, I'm the Central Florida East Chair for the ESGR, which is Employer Supportive Guard and Reserve. So we make sure our sheriff, all the way from me all the way up to the sheriff, that we follow the USERRA law, and we make sure that we follow everything in compliance so that when they come back, they still have their job. We're paying differential pay the whole time they're gone, and they're accruing leave and vacation days while they're gone. So it doesn't count against them. They're made whole in FRS. And believe it or not, we cover them over 5 years. If they're gone and they've given orders for over 5 years, we'll continue to take care of them through that whole period.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I'm going to. So we have roughly 2,500 people that work here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. I usually say about 1,600 sworn, somewhere in that area.
Yes, sir.
So the rest are civilian. Do you have any idea off the top of your head, once again, I'm putting you on the spot here, roughly how many are either military, either retired or active?
Yeah, I believe the number is about 455. I just did an award, and that's the reason I know that number. It could be off by a couple.
Okay.
But it's about 455 veterans, National Guard and reserves, and spouses of veterans.
All right. So you talked earlier about how you try to go to different military bases. I know COVID has probably changed this a little bit,
Yes,
but
sir.
That's part of recruiting. I'm sure some of our recruiters go to college campuses and they go try to find deputies. But your job, It sounds like you go to a lot of forts and bases and all that stuff. When you're out there, like, what are you looking for, and what are you talking to the people at these bases about?
Well, when they see me, they could tell I'm an old guy, and I'm a retired Master Sergeant, E8 in the Marine Corps. And so once I start talking to them, I can relate to them. They feel comfortable. And believe it or not, a lot of people want to be cops. They just don't know they don't know what the process is. And so all I do is when I talk to them, they'll say, so how do I become a cop? And I'll explain it to them very easily to them, explain their benefits to them. One thing about being a retired military person for me is when I talk to them, I can understand their language. They'll use a lot of acronyms and a lot of terms, EAS. I EAS on this date, and I'm going into the reserves on this date, and they'll talk about their DD-214s, and it kind of sounds like a different language.
Like a robot talking,
exactly.
Some sort of alien language. I know, I've heard it.
Yeah, but the cool part is I'm able to sit down, being an older guy, I'm able to sit down with them and then take that mess of dates and that mess of stuff that they have and kind of show them how we could actually work with that, how we could move them, how they could actually check out of their base, come down here, do their training, and then kind of slide right into the civilian life. And I will tell you this, I'm going to tell you something that's going to sound pretty bold, but I have a lot of reason to believe this. But we are really probably one of the best in the country at customer service. I do make mistakes. There are times when I forget to call someone back. But from our front desk up there, Mary and Savannah, all the way through the background investigators, all the way through the recruiters, all the way up to the sheriff, I get nothing but compliments, even from people, military people and spouses that don't even get hired by us. They say, wow, you really took the time. Mm-hmm. One thing that I kind of shot myself in the foot, but I'm very glad I did it, is I give them 24-hour access to me. Uh-oh. So they can text, call, or email me anytime.
Yeah, that's good if they live in the East Coast, but if they live in Hawaii or something like that, they're calling you at all kinds of hours.
Well, I do ask them to be, considerate. Yes. I told them I'm old, so if I'm sleeping, don't be upset. Yeah. I'll call you. But the reason I do that is because I have a 29-year-old son, and I try to treat every one of my applicants as if they are my son. If my son called, what would I want to do? And I think that from the, like I said, front desk all the way up to the sheriff, I think our customer service is second to none, honestly, and we care about them. And I think that they notice that. I mean, people know you care about them if you show that you care. And I think that if I went to another agency, the first thing I would be expecting is to have to change that culture. And we have that culture here, and I think that's why we're one of the top in the country.
And I should mention about at this point that our sheriff, Sheriff John Mina, is a retired U.S. Army.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a former military police officer.
Yep.
He completely gets it. He loves we hire veterans preference.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that. And so what does that mean? Does that mean, if there's two people sitting in a room and one was in the military and one not, the military person gets a little bit, as you said, preference?
Exactly. They get preference. Now, in our case, we always want to hire around 200 deputies. So
a year.
Mm-hmm. So we usually don't get to that number, so it's not usually an issue. However, they do get the personal attention of having a recruiter that's available 24/7.
You.
Exactly, myself and my sergeant and the other people fill in as well, because we all want to know each other's job. But I just don't think they get that. As a matter of fact, I even called a couple of recruiters on a specific mission I was on, and I called 4 recruiters only one recruiter called me back. The other ones never called me back, even though I shot emails, I called and left messages. And I think that's what a lot of applicants are getting. They're receiving that. Hey, apply online. They're not hearing about their story about how they're getting out or they have to move or they're going in the reserves or they're going to training. And I think that that's what sets us apart. And it's a little bit of extra work.
Yeah. Well, that stuff matters, though.
You
might find somewhere else that they might pay more than us, but if you got somebody who's sort of giving you attention and saying, okay, I'm going to help you do this, this, and this just to get started.
Right.
Imagine when I actually work there, how much they're going to help me if
exactly.
I need it.
And also, too, being a veterans advocate, that means I take care of the people that are here. That means I support them here as well when they go on their deployments and things like that. Or if they have any issues with the Veterans Administration or anything, I have a lot more free time than they do. Mm-hmm. So I'm able to help them with it. But also at the same time, I'm able to sometimes, if we can't hire them, believe it or not, I have a little group of people, a little network, so to speak, of people that I can send them to.
Yeah.
So if maybe we can't hire them, maybe because they have too many tickets or something, but they're a good applicant. I'm able to send them to Amazon, retired Master Sergeant McGriff, or
yes.
I'm able to send them to another job site another person that's a recruiter, and they send people to me as well. So our service to them does not only include those that get hired by us, but even those that don't. And if they don't get hired by us, we'll help them to find a job at another agency or another place. And we even go so far as to help them with their Veterans Administration stuff, their military housing allowance, and those type things.
So once again, you go to all these bases, you talk to people about coming to work here at the sheriff's office. But let's say I'm in New York and there's a base up there. I'm sure there is somewhere.
Yes, sir.
And you're up there and they're like, you know what, I would love to work at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, but I'm up here in New York. Like, what do you do for somebody that says, I would love to come work down there? And I guess I would have to go to the academy here in Orlando. Like, how does that work?
Well, that's really a really good question, and we have a great answer for you. Well, number one, there are a lot of New York and New Jersey people coming down here.
And we want them all to come down here and work.
Exactly. I'd love to have them come down. Matter of fact, we just this morning, we advertised for our 911 openings, and someone that's from New York actually screenshotted our advertisement that's up in New York right now.
Nice.
And so we do spread the word. I also advertise to bases. I let them know that we have openings and they contact me. Now, one thing that Florida has that is phenomenal that not everybody has is called an equivalency of training program.
Okay.
And what that means is, let's say you're a cop in New York and you want to go to Colorado or something. You may have to go through their academy again. And that's like going through boot camp again or going through officer candidate school.
Yeah, it takes, 4 or 5 months
exactly.
and you're away from your family and all that stuff.
Exactly. So here in Florida, we have a 1 or 2 week, and believe it or not, we even have a 3-day, which I don't recommend, but we have a 1 or 2 week equivalency of training class. If they qualify, they can come down here, do a 1 or 2 week class, take the state exam, and they're certified in Florida.
Oh, wow.
If they've been a military police officer or they're certified in another state. So that's a phenomenal draw for us. And Orlando sells itself, as you know.
But do you help them, do you help somebody find housing down here while they're in the academy, or do they just sort of use whatever housing allowance they have to live here?
They do ask us. I mean, we don't get involved with the housing, but they do ask us. We tell them, hey, maybe you could rent a room while you're down here. Here's some ideas. Here's some places you could look at. Maybe they want to move into Orange County or Seminole County, and we can offer here's some towns and some schools that are good and things like that. I worked at Oviedo High School, so a lot of times I'll endorse Oviedo. They'll say, hey, is Oviedo a good place to live?
It's a beautiful place.
I'll say, hey, the schools are fantastic. They have a little bit of traffic, things are getting kind of big over there, but the houses are nice, the neighborhood's nice, and the schools are really good. They're number one schools. So, but yeah, we do help them. And I'll tell you, when we come to work, I know the other recruiters feel the same way. I don't want to just come to work and I'm just clocking out and I'm just doing. I literally feel like when I get up every day and when I come to work, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of working for Orange County Sheriff Office. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you, John. I'm proud of you. I see you, the things you do. I've been lucky. I've been blessed. I was always proud of my family. I was always proud of the Marine Corps. I was proud of the teams I was on. I was proud of the ROTC, and I'm very proud to be here. And so when I come to work, I don't feel like I'm spending my life. I feel like I'm investing it. And I think that that's an esprit de corps that we've built over time. And I really want people to come here. I'm not selling encyclopedias. I really believe that when they come here, they're going to feel at home here and they're going to feel safe here.
Yeah.
And so that, of course, you can't you can't have any more motivation than that, I would imagine.
So, Rick, how did you end up here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office? Because you're not from Florida originally.
I'm not. I'm originally from New York, and then I was in the Marine Corps for 21 years. I got to travel around a little bit.
Before you go even farther, why did you end up going into the Marine Corps? How did you choose that path?
I had a bunch of family. My father was Navy. I had a bunch of family that was Marines. And I don't know. I was getting a haircut one time when I was about 16 or 17. And I was getting a haircut, and I saw a sign on the wall, and it said, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, it just caught me. And I was like, I want to do things. I want to travel. I want to see things. And I thought I went to the different services, and the Marine Corps told me they only promised me 3 hours of sleep a day and 1 hot meal. And I thought that was really cool.
All right. Well, we could do better than that at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, I hope.
But I was one of those kids that wanted to do it the hard way for whatever reason. And I went in the Marine Corps, and I found a home there. And 21 years went really fast.
Yeah. Where all did you live, if you can tell me?
Sure. I lived, absolutely. I went to school in New Jersey. I became a parachute rigger. Then I went to Okinawa for 2 years. Then I came back, and I was a drill instructor in the Marine Corps in San Diego. I lived there for a few years. Then I went to El Toro, California, after I got married. I then went back overseas for 3 years. I had a son over there that was born in Okinawa. We came back, and then I went to North Carolina. Then after North Carolina, I was there for about 6 years. Then I went to Yuma, Arizona, and I was a maintenance chief in a Harrier Squadron. If you ever go to Yuma, bring a fan, and also bring some water. There's not a whole lot of water there. And I got out, and I went to Seattle. Became a junior RTC instructor for 10 years. Then came here for 3 years. I worked at Oviedo, and now I've been here for 6.
Okay.
So it's a long journey. It's that, I'm old and so on. I mean, I admit it. But honestly, I wouldn't trade places with anybody. I miss my son. He lives in Seattle. He's doing great, but I miss him. But other than that, I have no regrets at all. And I, like I said, if someone is military or military spouse or Guard Reserve, you're not going to find a better place to at least come and at least ask the question. Mm-hmm. And we don't put pressure on anybody. We get about 3,300 applicants a year, believe it or not.
Not all military, though.
They're not all military. But we're not under any kind of quotas or stress. We have plenty of applicants. We just need to help them through the process.
Yeah.
And I don't like, when I talk about myself, I'm not trying to brag about myself, but I guess the point I'm just trying to get is that I have a lot of support. I have a lot of experience. And I have a lot of love for the military, and I have a lot of love for police and deputies, and it seems like the perfect place to be to invest this portion of my life.
Yeah.
And it's a great place for anybody to come because you'll feel that esprit de corps as soon as you get here.
So when somebody maybe joins the Orange County Sheriff's Office, maybe they're new from the military, I mean, what's that transition like for most of them when they come over here? Are there any big concerns they have when they sort of leave that life and come over to this side?
That's wonderful because that's a great question. Because yes, if you're in the military, you're used to getting that steady paycheck, you can figure it out. You know what's going on. Everything's pretty much figurable. You can figure it out. You know what's going on. However, when you get out here, you come here, you don't have a job, you're trying to get an apartment. It's kind of tough because you don't have any income. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of tough. They're going to lose maybe their health care. That's kind of tough. They may have a spouse or some kids. It starts getting kind of hairy. So the way we usually do it is a lot of times they'll leave their family somewhere safe. They'll come here and go through the schooling, go through the academy, go through the training. And then when they get on their feet, then they bring their family down.
Okay.
But that's pretty scary. Matter of fact, I remember when I got out of the Marine Corps, we had 911 and John McCain came to talk to us. And, we were involved in a big war and so on. And I remember when I went to the junior RTC in Seattle, they said, hey, we have a secret meeting that we need to do here and be down in the cafeteria. Mm-hmm. And I went down there, and I remember I was all geared up because I didn't know what was going on because I was used to pretty heavy stuff. And I remember the big deal of the day was that it was Principal Phillips' birthday coming up, and we had to figure out who was going to bring the red solo cups, and if it would be too American or whatever, if we brought red, white, and blue plates, okay, or if anybody would be offended.
Different priorities, I guess.
And I sat there smiling and trembling at the same time because I realized that I think emergencies are going to be a little bit lower key. For the next 13 years.
Yeah.
And by the way, I did volunteer to bring the plastic forks.
Okay.
Yes.
So when military recruits come here and come to work here, I mean, does it help? And you're going to have to toot your own horn here again. Does it help to have somebody like yourself who's maybe gone through this as well to talk to? Because if they do have problems, I'm sure you've heard them all before, and you've maybe experienced them, and you can sort of guide them in the right direction.
Absolutely. As a Master Sergeant in the Marine Corps, my job was to take care of Marines. That was my job. I sat in my office. They would come in, and they'd say, I'm having trouble getting leave. My grandmother is in the hospital and I can't get leave. And my job was to make sure they got taken care of. If someone didn't get a promotion, or my job was basically to take care of people. That was my job. And so when I came here, it's kind of a natural transition. I went to the ROTC. My job was to take care of young people. So when I came here, it's the same thing. So my job is to read between the lines. When someone calls me up, they're giving me their best side. They go ahead and they'll say, hey, yeah, I want to be a Orange County Sheriff Deputy. I get out of the Marine Corps in March of 2022, and I'm listening between the lines. My wife's pregnant, and I automatically say, okay, Corporal, or whoever you are, okay, so do you have any family here in Orlando? Oh, yeah, we're going to come live with my mom for a few months. And we start working out the problems that we foresee coming up. And the funny part is, I enjoy doing that. The funny part is, it's not just about getting more recruits. It's just if you can spend or invest your life going home at the end of the day knowing you helped young people to reach their dreams, knowing that you helped put a good person at 911 or admin or a good person out on the street as a deputy, it makes your life worthwhile.
Yeah.
And I really sense that from a lot of the people here in HR, that this is more than a job. We're not putting tips on shoelaces. We're actually changing lives and taking care of our community. Again, I don't mean to sound overly dramatic, but that is literally how we work around here. We care about people. We really do. Even people that get non-selected, like I said, we're going to take that extra step. We're going to help them to find another job somewhere that they're more effective.
So you said you've done this job here for 6 years.
Yes, sir.
Was there somebody else before you? Has this always been kind of a important part of recruiting here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
The gentleman that was here before, yes, it has always been. The gentleman that was here before me was a very John Wayne type guy.
Okay.
He's a lot older than me, but I would never face off against him. He's a tough guy. He was a F-4 fighter pilot in Vietnam. He was a deputy for 13 years. What's original about me is I'm the first one that's not a deputy.
Ah, okay.
So they said, hey, look, let's get someone that's not a deputy. He doesn't have to do background. He doesn't work off duty. He doesn't have to go to training. He's just available 24 hours a day to recruit. And so that's a big advantage for me because I have a lot more free time than maybe some of the other departments. I also have access to the bases. I also have access to the reserves through the Employee Supported Guard and Reserve. And so it makes it very special for me. If you call a regular recruiter in most departments, matter of fact, I don't know of any other civilian recruiters that were not deputies that recruit military veterans. I don't know of any in the country. They may be, but I don't know who they are. But that's a big advantage. I'm not overworked. I'm right in my wheelhouse. I have great support from everybody. And, if I was looking to be a cop, I would definitely give Orange County Sheriff Office a call. And I've been around long enough where I know what the other agencies have. I know which ones pay more. I know which one has shorter retirements. But I'm able to balance, what you get with us against what you get with the other places. Just as an example, some of the smaller agencies might pay you a couple dollars more, but you're probably not going to move up. If you're in an agency with 500 cops, you're probably not going to move up very, very quick.
Yeah, or 5 cops.
Or 5
like some
cops.
Small towns.
Yeah, you might make a few bucks extra.
Yeah,
You maybe even become the chief in a couple years.
Yeah.
But you're not going to be able to move up like you do here.
And plus, we have a lot of cool things here. This is another selling point I've learned over the last 3 years that, we have helicopters and boats and dive teams and all these kind of cool things, horses and just all that stuff.
We have 41 specialty units, sir. 41. And we even have reserves. So if they've done a year on the road, they could be part of our reserve units. Once they've done 2 years, they could be part of any one of our 41 specialty units. I mean, some agencies might only have 10 or 12 specialty units. So we're pretty good. I mean, Orlando sells itself. The reputation of Orange County Sheriff Office sells itself. And then, of course, the motivation of the people you work with sells itself. The esprit de corps sells itself. So the only thing they have to decide is, really, honestly, when I talk to a military person, is basically where do you want to live? If they're saying, well, I don't know, I might want to work for Miami-Dade or Orange County, and then I don't have to do anything but just ask them where they want to live. Because if you want to live in Miami, you should probably go to Miami-Dade.
Yeah.
If you want to live, so it's not a mind-bending type thing. If they want to live in Jacksonville, then they should probably go to Jacksonville.
A lot of traffic down in Miami, though. Yeah. It's crazy
I don't suggest it.
It's
I
crazy
don't
down
suggest
there.
it.
Yeah.
Unless they're on a bicycle, I don't suggest it.
It's a fun town, though. I shouldn't say anything bad about it. So earlier you mentioned military spouses.
Yes, sir.
So why is that also part of your job? Is it, maybe one person's deployed or one person's working somewhere and the spouse, you can help them find a job here?
Yes, the military spouse is something that's a new thing that's going big. When you go to a base, they always have a transition assistance program where they help military veterans to transition. How do you write resumes and what benefits do you have and help them find a job? Well, in the last, say, 5 or 10 years now, they're doing that with the military spouse as well. So the spouse used to just kind of tag along back in the old days. It's not like that anymore. Now they're relevant and they're looking for jobs. And so, believe it or not, you could call the base and ask for their military spouse employment specialist, and they'll probably have one.
It's a good idea because, you're right. I'm sure, you think 20, 30, 40 years ago, the spouse would just probably stay on base and maybe do their thing there, maybe have a part-time job. But you're right. Now you can maybe live here. Maybe the spouse wants to work here too.
How cool would that be to hire one as a deputy and hire one as a 911 emergency
or both
communicator?
deputies? Who knows?
Or both deputies. We've actually have scenarios that could. Matter of fact, there's one scenario right now where there's 2 in the Army that we may get both.
If that happens, you tell me. I'll do a story.
We'll do a story
video
on that. And we met them about 3 years ago, so it's been a long process. But yes, the military spouses are wonderful. They and also, believe it or not, a lot of them fall under the veterans preference.
Okay.
So that's a really good deal. And I don't think a lot of agencies even really understand the power of the military spouse. They could come here and their husband or wife works, and then they can get a job as well. And they got a good income coming in. They got good medical benefits. And the sheriff loves doing that. Loves hiring teams. I don't know how many times it's happened, but we do have a lot of teams that come in here and get hired.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you a little bit more of a serious question here. I know sometimes with the military, if you're in it for a long time or even a short time, you have some people that, they see some difficult things and they may have some PTSD or some mental issues. How do we maybe handle that here at the sheriff's office, maybe before they start, or even if they are working here and they get deployed and they come back and they're maybe dealing with some things? How do we handle that here at the sheriff's office?
Well, that's a really important thing for me to answer. So the way it works is when I talk to them and they tell me their disability ratings, and I find that, I could probably make a pretty good probability that they may have a little bit of PTSD. So I'll mention it in the conversation, and I'll just say, look, if you have any PTSD issues, number one, I pray you're getting treatment. I'm glad good for you. That's what you need to do, because back in the old days, people would get out and they wouldn't get treatment.
Yeah.
The other thing is, though, what we tell them is we assure them as long as they pass the physical and the psychological, that there's not going to be any issues. If they pass that, they're fine. We don't worry about that. We have a lot of issues where if they're already on the job and they have those things, then we have resources where they can go to counseling and they can have someone to talk to. So let's use an example. Someone says, Rick, I just want to let you know I have a 100% disability rating, but I can do the job. So I know if they have good feet, good knees, good back, I know that they're strong, they have good eyes and good ears, then it must be that they have an issue with their PTSD.
Okay.
And then I would bring that up. I just say, as long as you can pass the physical and the psychological.
Yeah.
And that's normal. And if they pass that, there's no issues. If they have problems after that, like I said, there are people that they can speak to. We do have people that they can go to for free.
Yeah, and this isn't unique to military folks either. I don't want to sort of just place all the blame on folks that have either gone in the military or still in it. The world we live in, people have mental issues sometimes, and that's okay. And
I like to think that I make them feel comfortable, because what I always tell them is, I don't hug them. That's inappropriate. But I always tell them, I always say, look, if I was there, I'd give you a hug. I'm really glad that you're getting treated. Because like I said, in the old days, we would get out and we would just, they say, don't get treated because you'll never get a job. That's what they used to say.
Yeah.
Well, here at the sheriff's office, we can proudly say that as long as you pass the psychological and the physical, we want you to be on our team.
Yeah.
And I also wanted you to know, John, there's a statistic, believe it or not, they did some studies that found that, believe it or not, people that have been in those tough situations in the military are actually less likely to to accelerate a situation because they're used to being at a very high level of stress.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Right. And so I don't want to quote too many. I really need to get them and probably maybe put them in front of me. So if anybody asks me, I could show them the studies. I don't want to just be making statements that I can't back up. But there has been a lot of studies that show that people that have been in high stress situations don't get as stressed as someone that's not been in a stressful situation may get very stressed at a very low level of stress.
I'm imagining, two people in the military, they handle, explosives, and they're maybe out doing missions and all that, and then they come back and be a sheriff, which can be a stressful job, a sheriff's deputy. But then you got two neighbors arguing over their line and where their pool goes. You could say, all right, well, this ain't as bad as what I used to have to deal with overseas.
Exactly.
So it's all in context, I guess.
It's all in context. But I can tell you this. I have heard testimonies from deputies that said, hey, get me more military people. They said, get me more because we like. Now, in the military, there's this 500-pound gorilla that no one really wants to talk about. Being a veteran, I can say it. We do get some military people maybe that they're just not cut out for the job.
Totally.
Just like any
job.
Any job.
Yeah.
Any job. But I would, if I had to put an estimate, I'd say 80% of the people that we run through our process. It's such a rigorous 5-month process. Mm-hmm. If they can get through that meat grinder, they're going to be a good deputy at the end of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they're young and they need a little inspiration, they're going to get it from us as well, because we see the value in them. So sometimes people will call me up a little hesitant, and I'll tell them, put your foot in the water. Let's go through the process. And they'll say, wow, I made it through the background. Wow, I made it through the psych. Wow, I made it through the panel board. Oh, I made it through. And next thing you know, at the other end comes out, the sausage comes out, and they're confident and they're excited. And then, of course, they have 5 months of academy, 9 weeks of basic recruit training, 14 weeks with a field training officer, and then 2 years on the road. So that sausage comes out perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm going to leave it at that, I think. So, Rick, let's say I'm in the military, retired or active, and I want to work at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. How do I contact you?
So what would happen is you would either find my number at one of the bases.
Okay.
You would find us on Indeed when you Google it, or you'd find us at our website. You would normally send me an email, or sometimes I get phone calls. And then what I do is I send you an email that says, I'm your go-to guy. Here's our process. It explains it really almost too much. I may have to edit the document. Mm-hmm. It's got way too much information. Uh-huh. But they go through then they call me up, they ask questions, and I walk them through the process.
Okay.
If they do decide to apply, then I help them through each process of the step all the way through. And it's not overburdensome because I feel like I prepare them for it. I get them through the process. They'll call me up and say, hey, I have a voice stress analysis today, or I have a panel board coming up, and then I go over it with them, and then I follow them through the process. And then when they come out the other end, they're going to find out if they got hired or not. And then they swear in, then we explain the whole thing to them about the academy. And then what we do is, to make it even easier on them, instead of having to deal with the VA, if they get hired and go to the academy, I go down with the Veteran Administration rep for the Valencia College, mm-hmm. and while they're eating their lunch, we have them fill out their military housing allowance paperwork. So they don't even have to worry about that. We do that for them as well. And then as soon as they swear in after the academy, they run them as an on-the-job training site, which not a lot of people have, but we are an on-the-job training site, but recognized by the VA, which means that when they go through their basic recruit training and FTO, they can receive their military housing allowance continuously all through the whole thing, which, like I said, could be as much as $1,700 a month.
That's great.
So we run them through it, and then when they come out and they're on the job, they can contact us with veteran problems, veteran situations. Many times I'll send them over to a veteran representative to talk to. They might have a situation where they need that. And I go home every day proud. And my mom and dad aren't alive anymore, but I know that they would be proud of me.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you, sir. I'm very proud of you too. I love what you do.
If somebody did want to call you, could you tell them your number right now?
Absolutely.
What is it?
My number is 407-448-6804. And my email is easy to remember. It's my first name, Richard, my last name, DeMarco, D-E-M as in Michael, A-R-C-O, Richard.DeMarco at OCFL, stands for Orange County, Florida, .net. Richard.DeMarco at OCFL.net.
There you go.
I look forward to hearing from you guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening and you're military, former military, active military, and you want to work here, Rick's the guy to talk to. So, Rick, thank you so much for chatting with me on Behind the Star. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Star. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Jon Busdeker, and this is Behind the Star.